Wait until you hear how Count Dooku's earliest lessons with Qui-Gon Jinn quietly shape one of the most influential Jedi in the entire saga. And there's one moment inside the Jedi archives that completely reframes how Dooku was already changing. The Master Qui-Gon walked into. So before we even get to Qui-Gon, you have to understand the version of Dooku that he was assigned to. Because this isn't the Sith Lord yet, and it's not even the disillusioned figure we see later. Between 82 and 78 BBY, Dooku completes his training under Yoda and rises fast, becoming not just a Jedi Knight, but eventually a Master who stands out among his entire generation. He's already known as a veteran of multiple galactic conflicts, and more importantly, he has a reputation as one of the Order's most exceptional lightsaber duelists. And that part matters more than it seems at first. Because Dooku doesn't just fight well, he studies form, precision, and control to a level where he becomes a primary lightsaber instructor for the Tranta clan. That means young Jedi are literally learning how to fight by watching him. He trains his first Padawan, Rael Averross, for 10 full years, and successfully brings him to knighthood, which tells you something important about Dooku at this stage. He is patient enough to train long term, disciplined enough to produce results, and respected enough to be trusted with shaping future Jedi. And somewhere in this same period, he forges his own curved hilt lightsaber, moving away from his original blade. That choice isn't just aesthetic, because the curved hilt is specifically designed for refined dueling control, which lines up perfectly with how he approaches combat and teaching. So when Qui-Gon Jinn is assigned to him in 68 BBY, he's not walking into uncertainty. He's walking into one of the most skilled, disciplined, and quietly intense masters in the entire Jedi Order. And this is where things immediately get interesting. The first conversation that defines everything. On the very first evening they meet, Qui-Gon, who is only 12 years old, goes to Dooku's quarters and presents himself to his new master. And instead of beginning with instruction or expectations, Dooku does something very specific. He observes. He notices that Qui-Gon is afraid. Now most masters might move past that and try to reassure him, but Dooku presses the point and asks Qui-Gon why, and this is where Qui-Gon does something that sets him immediately apart. He doesn't deny it, and he doesn't deflect it, because after taking a moment, he admits that he is afraid, but not of Dooku. He's afraid of failing, of not becoming a Jedi, and of not being worthy of the path he's been placed on. So instead of treating that as weakness, Dooku reframes it. He tells Qui-Gon that what he's really afraid of is himself, specifically a future that doesn't become what he hopes it will be. And Qui-Gon agrees. He even goes a step further and admits that he's afraid Dooku might reject him for that fear. But Dooku doesn't reject him at all. He calls it wise. And that reaction matters more than anything else in this moment, because Dooku explains that most Padawans would deny fear entirely, and even those who admit it rarely show the level of self-awareness that Qui-Gon just demonstrated. So right from the beginning, Dooku isn't trying to remove Qui-Gon's fear. He's validating his ability to understand it. This starts to explain a lot about the Jedi Qui-Gon goes on to become, but this next part takes it even further. Walking the temple, learning the Order. Instead of jumping straight into training drills or missions, Dooku chooses to walk Qui-Gon through the Jedi Temple itself. And this isn't a casual tour. He deliberately takes him through key spaces, including the Padawan sparring dojo, the training areas used by full Jedi Knights, and the Great Assembly Room where major decisions are made. So what he's doing here is grounding Qui-Gon in the structure of the Order before anything else. He's showing him where he fits. And eventually they reach the Jedi archives. Now this is where the tone shifts. They're not studying anything in depth yet, because Dooku's goal is simply to help Qui-Gon learn the layout. But something catches Qui-Gon's attention almost immediately. There's a holocron that looks older than the others, and it has a different shape, so naturally Qui-Gon asks about it, and Dooku's reaction is not neutral. Qui-Gon notices that his expression changes in a way that feels almost like he's looking at an enemy. So when Dooku answers, he keeps it controlled, but very clear. It's a holocron of Jedi prophecies. And when Qui-Gon asks if there were ever Jedi prophets, Dooku explains that there were, but not anymore. He says those mystics sought knowledge of the future, and that pursuit led them down dangerous paths often toward the dark side. So the Order no longer studies prophecy. And then he ends the conversation there and leaves, forcing Qui-Gon to follow. But Qui-Gon doesn't let it go. He asks one more question. He wants to know if simply wanting to understand the future is enough to lead someone to the dark side. And Dooku gives a very precise answer. It takes more than that. If you are enjoying this Star Wars deep dive, it's practically all we do here, so you might want to stick around. The first mission and a hidden line. After only a few months of training, Qui-Gon is sent with Dooku to Shurapak, where he experiences his first real battle. And as their shuttle approaches under heavy fire, Qui-Gon is clearly nervous, but he looks to Dooku as the example of what a Jedi should be in that moment: fearless, controlled, and calm. Once they arrive, Qui-Gon meets Rael Averross, Dooku's former Padawan, who has already built a reputation as a skilled duelist, and Rael immediately offers something that Dooku doesn't: accessibility. He tells Qui-Gon that Dooku is difficult to get to know, and he offers to answer questions that Qui-Gon might not feel comfortable asking his master yet. So now Qui-Gon has two different influences: Dooku, who is precise, observant, and somewhat distant, and Rael, who is open, direct, and easier to approach. And Qui-Gon recognises that difference right away. He even sees Rael as a kind of bridge between who he is now and the Jedi Knight he wants to become. So while Dooku is shaping Qui-Gon's discipline and perspective, Rael is helping him navigate the experience of being a Padawan. But during this same mission, something happens that quietly stands out. While tracking a bounty hunter named Shenda Mole, Qui-Gon is captured, and before Mole can kill him, Dooku intervenes. He saves Qui-Gon by using Force Lightning, and that detail is not treated as shocking by Rael when Qui-Gon later mentions it. He's unconcerned. That adds a layer to everything we've already seen, because Dooku is already willing to use abilities that sit outside what the Jedi consider acceptable, and the people closest to him don't react like it's unusual. That tells you this isn't a one-time decision, it's part of who he already is. The Holocron that Dooku tried to leave behind. Sometime after that mission, Qui-Gon is working in Dooku's quarters, and this next detail is easy to overlook, but it matters. Dooku allows him to study there as long as he doesn't disturb him, so even though Dooku is distant, there's still a level of trust being built. Now Rael visits, and the conversation shifts towards Qui-Gon's studies, which he admits he chose because he thought it would be easy. It wasn't, so Rael offers him to show something more interesting, and he takes him back to the archives, specifically to the Prophecy Holocron, the same one Dooku warned him about. And once Qui-Gon starts reading it, he can't stop. He's completely drawn in by these visions and the idea that the Jedi once experienced them in trances. So naturally, he brings up what Dooku said, that the prophecy should be ignored. And this is where Rael reveals something that changes everything. Dooku was the one who introduced him to that holocron in the first place. He used to keep it in his quarters, and now, suddenly, he wants nothing to do with it? So without directly explaining it, the story shows you something important. Dooku didn't always reject prophecy, he turned away from it. And he did it strongly enough that his reaction to it now feels almost hostile. Qui-Gon doesn't know when that changed or why, and neither does Rael. This starts to reframe everything Dooku told Qui-Gon earlier, because when Dooku warns about the prophecy leading to the dark side, he's not speaking abstractly, he's speaking from experience. And Qui-Gon, whether he realises it or not, is now standing at the edge of that same curiosity.